This really is a historic day. Okay. Some of you know, some of you don't know. November 16th, 1907, this is where statehood was announced for the state of Oklahoma. They moved the festivities from here down to what is fittingly another museum now, the Carnegie Library. But this is where it was announced with a single gunshot fired into the air, and I understand it was a real bullet at that time. When they reenacted it in 2007, fortunately they put a blank in the gun, but the same fellow's grandson did that. You guys all know this building needs to be saved. I got involved in this about 2.5 years ago. Hard for me to talk about this. My really good friend, Lloyd Lentz, put a business card in my mailbox. And he said, "Lynn, they're getting ready to turn this building into apartments. We can't let that happen." And so we got involved, and the more I learned, the more I figured he was exactly right. We can't get the building. I was in the parking lot. My wife and I lived next door. I was in the parking lot over there one Saturday, and a rusty old pickup pulled into the parking lot. Fella got out, cowboy hat, handlebar mustache, and a rain slicker, and Kansas tag on the truck. And I introduced myself to everybody we meet up and down the street here. And I went out and introduced myself to him, and I don't remember his name. He was from a small town in Kansas, and he published a small newspaper in that small town. And he said, "I understand they're getting ready to turn this into apartments." And I said, "I hope not." He said, "I wanted to see the building one more time before they ruin it." They're going to gut this building. And he said, "There's equipment in that building that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. And we need to preserve it." And so we decided, not only did it not need to be apartments, it needed to stay a museum. And so number one, everybody keeps saying, "What are you going to do with the building?" And that's why we formed Guthrie Tomorrow Coalition. We got cooperation from the city of Guthrie, cooperation from the Guthrie Chamber of Commerce. We set up a nonprofit. We're all unpaid. I'm the CEO. I said I would be CEO as long as it's an unpaid position. All 13 of our board members contribute. And none of us are paid to do this. We're doing this as a labor of love. We're totally committed to this project. We wouldn't be getting to this day if it wasn't for Dr. Bob Blackburn. Dr. Bob Blackburn, Executive Director of Oklahoma Historical Society, was unbelievably cooperative. Some of you guys know when Jan and I met with him the first time we left there, I said it was almost like going to a revival. We were so upbeat. We knew we were going to make this day happen. This building doesn't just need to be saved because of what's in it, but just look at the building. I mean, I've learned a lot about this in the last 2 years. Each one of those window sills, those aren't cast concrete. That's a solid piece of stone that a mason chiseled into that shape before they put it in place. These quarried red stones, when you get a chance, walk around and look at the workmanship in this building. They did this from April to October in 1902 without the aid of modern machinery. That's a lot of wheelbarrows, a lot of picks and shovels, and a lot of manual labor. What they had to go through to do some of the things they did back then, including printing, and I'm really looking forward to the day we can open this as a museum. You can see the old equipment. We want some of that equipment to work, but it's just part of our history. One reason this history is so important, I found a really cool article written in 1993 about why history and knowing history is essential to our future quality of life. Now, the last thing you want today is for me to stand up here and read a bunch of stuff, but I have to read this one quote to make sure I get it right. The first is the role that historical understanding plays in the everyday decisions that affect all of our lives. A sentiment engraved in stone in front of the National Archives in Washington, D.C. That quote is, "The past is prologue." Now, fortunately, I'll take a little parenthetical statement. We have smart guys to tell us what that means, and this smart guy said, simply put, the quote means that the lessons of the past, both good and bad, serve as a roadmap to the future. If we as a community are to make the right decisions about our political leaders, our economy, our schools, our quality of life, we have to understand history. That was written in 1993 by Dr. Bob Blackburn, who was then the Deputy Executive Director of Oklahoma Historical Society. You know, today we're really excited because Dr. Blackburn is actually conveying this building to Guthrie Tomorrow Coalition. No one person's going to own this. This is set up as a perpetual nonprofit corporation. We're 501c3. We have stellar board members, and we also, because this day would never have come without Dr. Blackburn, I've invited our mayor, Steve Gentling, to come say a few words for us.
Thank you, Lynn. Is this a great day for Guthrie and for Oklahoma, or what? Isn't it a great day, and for this building? First of all, I'd like to thank the Guthrie Tomorrow Coalition for their passion. I mean, you can hear that in Lynn's voice. Not only Lynn and Jan, but all the members of the board. I've been out here working across the street at Honor Park, and I've seen Lynn and Sherry hauling bricks and doing all kinds of stuff. So it's not just their vision and their passion, but their energy and what they're willing to commit to this building, to our community, and to our state. So thank you very much to the coalition for what you've already done in taking the first steps of this journey. And also, thank you to Dr. Blackburn. Bob, I know you're here. Where are you? Come on up here, if you would, please. I don't want to get you out of the shade too much, but Dr. Blackburn has been identified as the face of Oklahoma history. Look at that face. Anyway, that's a wonderful label to have, I think, in preserving our rich history and making it available to future generations. You have been a vital link, as Lynn has already said, in getting to this day, this step in our journey. And I want to give a proclamation. Proclamation reads, whereas Dr. Bob Blackburn began his career with the Oklahoma Historical Society in 1979 as the editor of the Oklahoma Chronicles, and whereas Dr. Bob Blackburn became Deputy Executive Director of the Oklahoma Historical Society in 1990 and ultimately served as Executive Director of the Society beginning in 1999, which is the oldest state agency in Oklahoma. And whereas Dr. Bob Blackburn has spent almost 4 decades championing Oklahoma history, and whereas Dr. Bob Blackburn has worked for and found creative ways in which to preserve some of Oklahoma's endangered historical sites by transferring those properties to responsible nonprofits like Today and tribal entities, and whereas Dr. Bob Blackburn has worked with the Guthrie Tomorrow Coalition to transfer ownership of the historical State Capitol Publishing Museum, and whereas Dr. Bob Blackburn's creativity and love for Oklahoma history has made it possible for the Guthrie Tomorrow Coalition to begin restoration and rehabilitation of this building, protecting the building into the next century. Be it this therefore resolved that I, Stephen J. Gentling, Mayor of the City of Guthrie, am honored to declare Wednesday, June 27th, 2018, as Dr. Bob Blackburn Day. Your day. Thank you for done for us. We appreciate it very, very much.
We also have another gift for Dr. Blackburn.
Pull it out.
You sure can. And some of us have, some of you have seen these around town. You don't raise much money with t-shirts, but you raise some awareness. So we want to save the building. So next time you're at Red Brick Nights, you'll see our little booth set up. Come by, we'll give you some information. And a lot of the board members that are out there have information pamphlets saying what we've got going on here. When I got the idea to start the nonprofit, I knew there was one guy in Guthrie that I had to have on the board. And I said, Jan, I don't think I can make this happen without you. Will you serve on my board? And he said, that's a really important project, and I'd be honored to serve on the board. And so I'm going to turn the mic over to Jan for just a minute.
Welcome again, everybody. This is for the state of Oklahoma, for foremost, and for Guthrie, to save this building. And that is our purpose, total purpose. There's nothing else about it. To kick off our campaign, we have Debbie Kuykendall with Bank First, who is going to present a check to our organization to start our financial campaign. And don't run over everybody, but you're all welcome to come up and give a gift. Debbie, thank you so much.
We appreciate being a small part of this starting out, and a commitment that you all are making and the bank would like to make as well to our community and to the history of our state. And thank you very much for all the dedication and commitment that you have for it as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Carol, if you'll work your way up here. This is a little bit different, and this is the hardest part for both Lynn and I, but we are dedicating a garden area in honor of Lud Lentz that will go around the right-hand corner of the building here, and it'll be in his honor for all of his. We wouldn't be here essentially if it wasn't for Lud. And so Carol has graciously, as representing Save Our Depot SOD organization, is donating $5,000 to help create that memorial.
I'm very excited, and I think you can see how beautiful this building is, and honoring Lud Lentz III is just fabulous. Thank you.
I want to thank a couple of very important people. One of them is Senator A.J. Griffin, wherever you are. Without her help as well, this would not have happened. She was an integral part in helping coordinate this with Dr. Blackburn and with the state and with the organizations that we had to help assist in making this happen. Secondly, I know he's here, at least I think he was. Leroy, where are you? Back in the back. Leroy Alsep was nice enough to help us create this venue and allow us to use the public streets. And we thank the support Guthrie had. There's so many people we could thank for allowing this to happen. It has been a great event. As Lynn said, buy t-shirts, help us raise money. We've got pamphlets that are going around. And again, I want to finish this by saying on my part, this is for the state of Oklahoma, as well as our community of Guthrie. This is a state project. Our board members, in fact, if you're a board member, could you raise your hand? This group that's been a part of this are not just Guthrie people. In fact, I think the majority of them may not be. But that's how important this project is, and we thank everyone for their support. And Lynn, I think I'll turn it back to you.
This time I'm going to ask Dr. Blackburn to say a few words.
Thank you, Lynn. I'm getting sunburn on top of my head these days, so I've forgotten my hat, so I will make this quick. But you know, one thing I've observed in almost 40 years of public service of trying to collect, preserve, and share history is that none of us can do this alone. The other thing that we have to remember, even in the nonprofit world, it's like running a business. Conditions change. Challenges just hit you straight on. Those who succeed are those who persevere, those who look for alternatives, look for opportunities, and are willing to work together. The greatest good for the greatest number of people. That's the way it should all work. And in this particular case, when I got involved in Guthrie's history in the late 1970s, Kathy Dixon, in fact, this should be Bob and Kathy Day. Kathy Dixon has helped negotiate all this and kept this moving. But when we got involved here in the late 1970s, in Guthrie, you don't have to use last names, but the Ludds and the Dons and the Ralphs and the Jeffs and the Carrolls and the Ludds. Fred Olds, I will use his last name, who was here at the time, had a sense that we had to do something, and how could we work together? The state was involved, the city was involved, the private sector was involved, and we made good progress. Well, challenges, changes have come about. We've had 48% budget cuts in the last 8 years. Trying to survive and keep the standards high has been a challenge. But we tried to keep the conversation going. Senator Griffin was right in the middle of this from the very first when he says something is going to have to change. We don't know how it will change, but let's keep the conversation going. And it was a great day when Lynn and Jan came up to my office. We probably had 10 meetings, I would guess, easily. We've come here, they've come to our office to keep the conversation going. How can we use conditions today to find those opportunities? And I think we're on the right road. Do we have a solution, a final solution? I don't think we do. But this is a good step on looking for more opportunities. And the Oklahoma Historical Society is not walking away. The state of Oklahoma is not walking away. We've invested too much in this, personally, publicly. It's part of who we are. It's an iconic building. You'll see this photograph of this building in many of my books. To me, this is the face of Oklahoma history. It's where history of the state of Oklahoma began. We cannot walk away. So we will remain engaged. We will continue to go to meetings. Our staff at the Territorial Museum will be close partners. We'll be distant partners. And public servants like Senator Griffin will keep us involved with this. So thank you to the City of Guthrie, to this Board of Directors, and I look forward to continuing looking for those golden opportunities. Thank you.
Two documents we're going to sign. One of them is a deed to the building, but doesn't come without strings. And I actually insisted on putting some strings, some conditions on this, because I want our feet held to the fire. Bob said, I don't care if you take 10 years to put the money in this building to make sure it's done. And I said, look, if we haven't put $262,000 in this building in the next 5 years, we failed miserably. So we've got to do that either in cash or in kind. We've already started the in kind. Most of you that are from Guthrie, if you've driven by here the last few years, you know that most of the bricks under the stairs were missing until 2 weeks ago. Special shout out to my friend and good Oklahoma City police officer who is also a brick mason, Joe Giroux. Joe's here today with his wife, Dana. Joe, where are you? We are, that's what Steve said. He saw us out here sweating, hauling bricks. That's what we were doing. We were helping the bricklayers. So we've already got the ball rolling on that. So we're going to sign our documents now.
And this is actually the deed. For those legal-minded people, we actually have a notary here as well, so this will be done correctly.
Just briefly, I do want to, and I know the board members got to raise their hand, wanted to make sure everybody knows who these board members are. We have 13 on our board: Jan Goodyear, April Coffin, Gary Good, Lloyd Lentz. Lloyd couldn't be here this morning. Lloyd's son Chase is here, and this is actually Lloyd C. Lentz IV. Goes by Chase. And a lot of you know over on Oklahoma Street there is a Lloyd Lentz building. That was Lloyd's grandfather. He's Lloyd Lentz III. Roland Combs, Des Lewis, Cynthia Rolfe, Macy Barber, Kaylin Swanger, Chris King, Patrick Kerr, Karen Ediger, Dan Newton. We have on our advisory board only 2 people right now. One of them was at the very first meeting we had at our house when we were trying to decide what we could do to keep this from being turned into apartments, and that's Ralph McCalman. Ralph, we appreciate you and your wife Susan being here today. And our other advisory board member has been, according to Ralph, has been involved in saving more buildings in downtown Guthrie than any other man or woman in town, and that is Don Coffin. Don, I know you're here this morning. So we really, really appreciate it.